Hi, Gail.
Hey Steve, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing great today.
Enjoying the fall?
So much. I went on a really nice hike today. I try to get out when it's good and
Mm,
and then, just work in the morning and evening.
good, good.
Yeah. Oh, there's Jim.
Good. Hi, Jim.
Good evening, Steve and Gail.
Hello. So I'm pretty sure Graham is coming. He's probably just running late. I actually ran into him on the road the other day.
Mhm.
Good.
There he is.
Hi, Graham.
Hey there.
Welcome.
Well, you're all scratchy audio there,
Oh,
Graham.
hello, Jim. Hey, Gail.
Talk a little bit more, Graham. Let's see if your audio is working all right.
Oh, did you not hear me?
You static or bad
It sounds,
connection or something?
yeah, it sounds okay
Oh,
now though.
test one, two, three. Test one, two,
Yeah.
three.
You're good.
Better, although you're a little bit. Are you using a phone?
No, no, not at all. No.
It's okay. The quality isn't the best, but it.
Is that the same for Gail, Jim? Are you also getting me crummy?
What?
Yeah, it just sounds kind of far away and a little echoey.
Yeah.
Huh, that's weird. It is the very same setup, um, and I never intentionally adjust the microphone. Let me have a look at.
It's okay. We can hear
Yeah,
you
yeah,
now.
Okay.
yeah, we can hear you. Don't feel
I
like
will
you have to
try and I will try and intonate very clearly or say very little, whichever suits you guys.
Sounds good. All right, well, welcome everybody to the October 16th meeting of the MLP Board and Broadband Committee. Um, I am Gail Huntress, MLP Manager and facilitating the meeting. This meeting is fully remote. Participating remotely, we have MLP board members, Jim Hemingway, Graham Sefton, and Steve Schmidt. Absent tonight is Broadband Committee member Craig Martin. Our first order of business is to approve the meeting minutes from September 18th as amended and submitted by Jim. Um,
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
Okay.
Thank you. Um, all in favor of approving the minutes?
Hi.
I
Great,
and I.
great. Okay, thank you. Um, all right, well, let's move right into the HUT report.
Nothing much from me. And I actually, I've been so busy, I didn't get inside the hut this month or so far, but I will be going there this week just to make sure it's all buzzing away. Yeah, so, and I also didn't read was it 20 trouble help tickets? I didn't look at them this month. So
Yes,
so,
our maintenance and service calls, the customer support was, I think, our lowest month yet. 20 calls for the whole month.
very good.
So that was great. And generator maintenance for our generator in the town hall is likely to be done next week, although we don't have a date yet from Pechoric. He is also going to be programming that delay with the generator starting to try to mitigate the power surge issues, even more than we have with those great little surge protectors we got for the mini splits. So that's in the works. Let's see. So kind of like, I'll just give you a quick overview of the meeting. I think it's going to go pretty quick today. We, well, depending on how much we want to decide, we want to talk about router stuff. But the
Let me
main thing.
Could I just interject?
Mhm.
Graham, you indicated you were going to be getting up to the hut to do regular things, and we got Pechoric going sometime next week. Would it be good if they coordinated?
I'm hoping I've told Tim that I would like to be there for
Okay.
that very reason. Yeah. So
Okay, good.
yeah.
Sorry, Gail.
Oh, no worries. Yeah, so anyway, just we're going to talk a little bit about routers. I'm going to finally share our fiscal year 24 wrap up, only 3 months late. I apologize that it took so long. There's a lot of back and forth with Gail Weiss this year, just trying to make it all make sense. Luckily, our numbers matched to the penny, but I had a hell of a time trying to understand some of the reports she was sending in the way that she was presenting it with a cash shortfall. We don't have a cash shortfall, but it is the way that things get reported that it looks like that. So big thanks to Steve for helping me work through that. And actually, why don't we just jump right in, and I'll share that. I'll share my screen so we can just look at it together. So again, this is fiscal year 24, which ended in the end of July. So I've highlighted some of the things that by the way, is it big enough for everyone? Okay. Here's a fun tip that I learned in Zoom. So when you're watching somebody's Zoom, and if their screen isn't big enough, you can do the pinch and blow up just like you can on a cell phone. Like you yourself can control how big it is.
Not on Microsoft.
Oh no. Really? You can't do it? It doesn't work?
I
get it.
actually,
you don't have a touch screen.
Yeah,
I take it back. I did it on my okay, it worked to some degree.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Mine's working, but it jumps a bit, and it probably was better before the way it was before.
Oh no.
No, it's fine. And then I was able to do it because this is a touchscreen laptop. So
yeah. All right. So anyway, I've highlighted some of the things that are just important. I'm not gonna bury the lead. I'm just gonna go right for the thing. That the good news is that we have 70,705.53 for our retained earnings. So
70.
despite everything, we're still ending the year in cash positive, and not by a little. So the biggest hit to the budget is right here. The $188,000 in poll transfers.
Yeah.
It's all said and done. Yeah. I mean, we were expecting about 150, and of course everything goes over. That estimate was based on the small section that they did on Leverett Road. And it was the whole, like, Wendell Locks Pond Road section where it got hairy. So it was ugly and ate up a lot of our funds. Uh Steve had a good idea to try to reach out to Senator Joe Comerford to see if there's any funds about this. If you recall, I reached out to Adam Saunders back in the fall asking, hey, is there any money for this? Got a hard no on that. But Joe Comerford wrote back same day, and personally, one of her aides didn't write back and said, we're going to look into this for you. So I'm not going to put a whole lot of stock in it. This is not going to make or break our budget, but it's good to know that maybe there'll be some funds coming to us for this from the state.
My interest in it was piqued by reading in the Boston Globe about the earmarks that various state senators send out to places in their district. And it's like, well, if this town can get something for it, hey, why don't we make a pitch? I was concerned because Joe Comerford has not been our state senator for that long. But then I saw that she is, I think, deputy assistant deputy vice chair of the Senate Ways and Means Committee. I mean, she's like third in command on the Ways and Means Committee. That she's might have some clout after all. So that was why it sort of got me thinking, suggested to Gail that we reach out to her. So Gail drafted a letter. I edited it and tweaked it, and sounds like it got
some attention.
Anyway,
so we'll see. We'll see what happens. Let's see other important things. So we spent about $39,800, or so, I'm sorry, $39,781 on regular maintenance, not counting pole moves. So that is important to know because it's right, right in line with a nice margin in there for what we've allocated for a regular maintenance budget.
And Gail, does that include like installation?
It includes everything.
So, so we had bumped our maintenance budget from 60,000 to 70,000 based on the winter storms of the previous winter. But in fact, we only spent, we'll call it 40,000 for a round figure. So, that's good.
It is good, but keep in mind, last winter was mild.
Yeah.
We had no like big storms. The year before was a doozy, remember? And we used up almost all of it, and had insurance claims thrown in there. So I feel good about the 70,000. It's always good to have more than less.
Yeah. Oh, no, I'm not recommending we reduce the maintenance budget at all. I was just thinking it's good to know that we aren't running that higher figure every year.
Yeah. Well, I think we're running like, that 30,000-40,000 range is like a normal year. And then we have that comfortable margin for the storm years. Oh, and don't forget also that our deductible has gone up.
Yeah.
15 now, is it now?
Correct. It's no longer 10, it's 15. So, 2 big storms, that's 30 grand. That's almost half the maintenance budget right there.
But Gail, I'm looking at your spreadsheet and it shows routine maintenance 58,000.
Yes, and that is because we threw some of those pole moves on regular maintenance. But if you come down here and subtract this, that's where we end up with the 39,781.
Okay.
So 20,000 of that came from our regular routine maintenance, and then I took the rest out of our emergency reserve because we were getting low.
Okay.
Other important things. So our pole rental fees were much more than what we bargained on, because National Grid charged us 2023 and 2024 during our same fiscal year. That should not happen this year, but they were kind of doing a catch-up thing. Totally within their right, they can charge us within the span. They can't send us the bills afterwards, but it just landed twice in the same fiscal year.
Assume they're basing it on a calendar year,
Yeah.
not our fiscal year. So yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
We're a bit short on insurance here too, because the rates went up, and
Yep.
we never know exactly what it is.
Right.
We have accounted for this in our 25 budget for the rates to go up again.
Yeah, I mean, insurance rates, we know that's gonna go up and go up. I mean, all you have to do is look at what's happening all around the country, and
One word, Florida.
Yeah.
well,
Yeah, well, everywhere. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. So,
or it could be Helene.
yeah.
Mhm.
Let's see. So anyway, those are the kind of highlights of the budget of what happened. Everything else we were pretty spot on or had excess. So all that was good. What else can I point out here? I think that's the major the most important thing here is that we're ending fiscal year 24 with a little bit over $70,000. So that gives us that good cushion going forward, and we'll hopefully be able to build that up again. It was just that there's this one-time cost for all these National Grid pole moves that were something that couldn't be taken care of by insurance or anything. It just had to happen. Any questions about the budget?
Yeah, I noticed you've also got the auditor line highlighted there, which I was curious, any update on the town going after us for the additional audit funds?
No.
Okay, good. No,
Yeah.
Good news there. Fine.
Yeah. So this is encumbered. Just a quick reminder that we, up until fiscal year 2025, we've been setting aside $850, but because it was never used, we're like, oh, it's every other year, and then we reduced it by half when really it should have been much more. So,
well, we were just told recently that we need more.
Yeah. Again, it was because nobody told us that what the real costs were up until now. So anyway, that'll be on the town's budget to pay for those audits. We'll pay a portion of those, and then going forward with our fiscal year 26 budget, we should increase this amount to reflect the actual cost, and I assume we will. Any other questions or comments?
Can we attach that as a PDF or something to the minutes, and maybe even if you could send us a copy just so it's easier to look at.
Absolutely.
Okay,
Absolutely.
thanks.
So it's just when you get it, it is a dynamic worksheet.
Don't mess with it.
Yeah. No, you'll have a copy. You can do whatever you want with it. You'll see formulas in here. I'll just give you a quick tour of how it works. So
Sure.
this is like the main summary. Here on the main, you can see item by item.
Okay.
All of the expenses.
Excellent.
And it takes those and it adds up the itemized expenses into the right category here.
Very slick.
We don't have any uncleared expenses because the year is done. Categories, these are all the account numbers that make up these right here.
Yeah.
And let's see, that's not really important. And the stabilization tracking. So anyway,
Did you and Steve have to build this?
What's that?
Did you and Steve have to build this spreadsheet arrangement?
We did indeed.
Good job.
Thank you. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think just keeping an eye on the finances, I don't know, maybe somebody could do it without a dynamic spreadsheet, but my brain isn't that smart. I need Excel help to do all the adding for it.
Good way to track it all.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, let me just make a note to send this to you all after the meeting. All right, for this year, for our current fiscal year, we're currently 30,191 cash positive. And yeah, nothing unusual there. Let's see, other news. I'm applying I'm submitting a nomination for Shutesbury for an NDIA Trailblazer Award. The NDIA is the National Digital Inclusion Alliance, and NBI encouraged towns in Massachusetts that have a successful network and who are doing things for digital equity, which we are, to apply. There's like a couple of towns in Massachusetts that have already won these awards. I don't see any downside to at least applying. If there's no fee for it, it doesn't obligate us to do anything except for share information about digital equity, which we're doing anyway. And then that if we do get on their list and get that recognition, it'll just kind of be a feather in our cap and maybe make us eligible for additional grant funding. So yeah, the applications are due by November 1st. So I'm gathering documentation for that. Speaking of digital equity, our report is done. I think I sent that around last month. So the next phase of it is MBI is going to get a copy of it, and we'll start kind of deciding on our plan of how to use those funds. I don't know the process yet, but I'll figure it out of kind of we've done all the gates, and what's the last step before we actually get those funds.
Quite a dance, don't they? Multi-level. I mean, you read the MBI stuff and it's like, oh my God.
Yeah, like any grant program, so many hoops, so much documentation. It just, it's just the way it is. I wish it was more money, like I mean, it's $56,000 at least, but it could be more. So it's nothing to sneeze at, but in terms of grants, it's not huge. All right. So that's kind of all that I have for regular business. Before we move into chatting a bit about router questions, does anybody have anything else that you want to discuss today?
I could just read one brief thing here as a financial related from the Montague Reporter, my favorite little newspaper.
Love the
And-
Montague Recorder.
Yes. And the town of Gill just bought a new truck, and they borrowed 141,000 and change to buy it from ESB, East Hampton Savings Bank. They borrowed it for a year at a 4.5% interest rate. And they took that one because it was the best deal they got. It was the best bid. And I'm just thinking, we still have our outstanding note there at 1.25%. We're still running for one more year. And then in 2026, it goes up to 2%. But at that point, the principal is paid, half of the principal has been paid down at that point. So even though the interest steps up to 2%, the payments continue to drop.
lower.
So I'm just thinking, that 1.25% rate we've got on that loan, it looks better and better when you see that, town getting a 4.5% rate on a loan and thinking it was a good deal. So
Yeah, we really no, we nailed the timing. We got like the lowest interest rates in history on that one. No, I mean, we didn't really do anything for it, but sometimes you get lucky. Sometimes you just get lucky. Wow. Awesome. Anything else? All right. So Steve, I'm just gonna start with some of your questions about the routers. So you said you have one of those, the Calyx Gigaspires.
yeah.
Yeah,
Which the three of us all.
Yeah, and I think it's
and Craig has.
Yeah. I think it's the one that you have is the U6. Although it says GS4, I think they're the same model. I can't look at it because I don't have one, but the main router, not the extender, is known as the U6. The extenders, I think, are the U4s.
There's nowhere on it the label.
Steve, is it a black box that's about 8 inches high?
Yeah, it's the same one that you
we all have
It's a U6.
At town meeting a couple years ago. It has my name on it, and Sheld was putting these out to us to sort of beta test, if you want to call it that. And the box is kind of a blank box. It's not labeled for retail sale. Clearly, it's obviously meant as a institution, for like something that goes in a repair truck for them to install, and not something that's sold off a shelf. So there's very little documentation with it, and the label doesn't even it's got that name on it, but doesn't have does not say U6. And since that's what we're talking about, I want to say, ask, is it the same? Is this the same router we're talking about?
It's got to be. That's the only one that I know of.
Yeah, it's the only one that's current.
Okay.
Yeah,
that's all. Just one.
3 or 4 years old, I believe now.
Yeah, it's been at least over 2, maybe 3 years since we got these. So
they actually, if you go on the Calyx site, they actually have Wi-Fi 7. They have a fancier version as well. So there is something upstream of that.
Okay.
Hold on a second. I'm just I'm looking for an email. There it is. Okay. So Steve, you asked about the answer to the Leverett Shutesbury service call comparison. And And I did put it into the document, but I didn't do it till this morning, so you may not have seen it. So I did a basic search on the ticket system in Integrity because I have access, I can get in there. And so I just took all of the tickets for the whole last year for Shutesbury and Leverett. I can divide them out by that. And so there was 509 tickets for Shutesbury, and there was 554 for Leverett. Then I went through and I divided them by anything that had the word router in the subject line. So any router question whatsoever. And then from that, we got 54 of those in Shutesbury and 72 in Leverett. So just based on, very basic numbers, that shows that yes, Leverett has more calls and more router calls. It's not a large amount.
And they have 100 less customers, right? Or at least 100 less customers, I
I
believe.
don't know.
Really?
Yeah, I don't.
I thought they were significantly smaller than us.
Yeah, I couldn't tell you offhand how many customers they do have less, but I don't know by how many.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Just we need to prorate, but it's not much. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good thought. And then Kelly, the customer service manager, wrote back when I asked her, like, just anecdotally, what's your experience? And she says the random router selection is a lot more difficult in the initial stages because just the connecting of them is the hardest part, without all the customers choosing something different. And many new customers have lots of questions about onboarding their new router, and every process is different and each brand is different. And so the onboarding is tough for, since we're not making this network from scratch and we never will again, kind of the onboarding isn't going to be a huge issue. But if we do stop supporting routers altogether and just saying like it's a free for all, like, go get your own routers, we're not paying for them, that and I don't think that would be a great customer service move, to just have people go and get whatever. So she also says that in regards to the life of the account, she doesn't see much difference between random routers and the Shutesbury routers. One of the benefits she sees in Shutesbury is that they replace the existing router with a new one if they think the router is a problem. They just say, we'll replace it, we'll run some diagnostics. In Leverett, they're like, well, you're getting service to your home and we can see it in the ONT. Good luck to you. And that, as understandably, customers are not thrilled about that. Just being told like the service is getting to your home. You need to figure this out.
Yeah, that would be very tough, especially for some people to have to suddenly go, even if it's just to Staples to buy a router. It's like they've got to speak Spanish sort of thing, or Swahili suddenly.
Yeah. I got an email today from a resident who said a year ago they were having problems and a technician came out and replaced their modem. I'm a little suspicious if she meant router or modem. And then she said, but over the last 6 months, they've had no service. And sometimes they can make Wi-Fi calls and sometimes they can't. So I'm, I always am suspicious, not suspicious, but like, I don't know what's going on there. And, she was very frustrated, but also she hadn't called, like things, and she's like, what am I paying $59.99 for, every month? Shouldn't we have good service? I'm like, yes, you should have good service. Like something is definitely wrong.
And even what she states there is puzzling, because I've had no service for 6 months. sometimes I can do Wi-Fi calling, sometimes I can't. Well, those are two different things.
Mhm.
Wi-Fi calling is one of the most problematic connectivity issues. So if the only problem she had was with Wi-Fi calling, you isolate that. Okay, that's a particular thing. It's, you know, it's not the most solid technology out there. But if you're saying no service, like no internet, no that's a very different issue. So
Had she called Shell at all to discuss whatever it was that was going wrong for her?
Unclear.
Mhm.
It didn't seem that of, you know, and it seemed like a recent problem of the, I don't think she had no service, because I think that would have inspired a service call. But she said, what was it? Wi-Fi calling is really inconsistent, can't make or receive calls in any reliable way. And then she said the computer often says no internet.
Well, that's a little
So,
different.
you know,
That can be her
it could be the
computer.
device, it could be the router. Anyway, we don't
Yeah,
have to problem
yeah.
solve this. There's not enough information. We have no idea, but I'm using this as an illustrative point of um the kind of like the misunderstanding of the, you know, of the technology, and just not, you know, not being comfortable with it. And I think honestly, a lot of people are even uncomfortable making the phone call to say,
Sure.
I don't I don't have good service, or a bunch of my devices don't really work really well. Um, my, oh, I shouldn't, I'm not going to say her name, but somebody that I know in town, her battery unit had been beeping for a year and a half. And she would hit this mute button and it would work for 24 hours, and hit it, and then she'd hit it again and hit it again the next day and the next day. 18 months.
Mm. Well,
Eight,
she phoned you. She tracked you down, did she, to raise these things?
yep. And I, you know, and I said, you know, why didn't you call? And she's like, I thought it was me. That I didn't know how to, fix it. And I don't like making tech support, you know, like call, well, and I understand, like, you know, you get someone on the phone and they start talking you through things, and she's like, and she didn't know, she didn't even know what it was. She's
mm,
like, something there is beeping. I know if I press that button, it goes away.
okay, yeah.
Right? Didn't know that was the battery. So
Well, we hear things beeping and we don't know, is it somebody's phone? Is it
mhm.
you know, is it the stove? What you know, I can understand. But once she found that button to push, to do that every day.
And if she holds the button, in for 5 seconds, it'll shut it down forever. So
Yeah, I mean, at that point
yeah.
you'd say, okay, it's this item and this is the name on it. You know, you could. Uh,
But the
but
battery's not working anymore, so she needs power. She needs a new battery, or she needs a power adapter, doesn't she? So
yeah.
yeah.
She obviously didn't look at our website either, Gail, because that answer would be on the website.
Yeah, all true,
Yeah.
but I'm a little bit worried that there's people out there who are just kind of like living with mediocrity of, in, you know, in their service, or they have, like, you know, 2 rooms where they just have no service because they don't, you know, they don't feel comfortable putting in a Wi-Fi extender. Oh, I have some neighbors very close to me who, as a favor, they, you know, they said they were having speed problems. So I just stopped by and I said, yeah, you need a Wi-Fi extender. I just like walked around with my phone and I'm like, the signal can't get through your beautiful concrete floor. It's, you know, it's in the basement. It's not going to happen. I'm like, you can get a Wi-Fi extender. You can, you know, drill up if you want and just move the router. And as far as I know, it still hasn't been fixed, because the investment for people to figure out these tech issues is more than just living with it, of, you know, more than just pressing the button. So I don't know, it makes me sad, and I want to, like, you know, give people a better experience here. And you know,
So is your-
manage.
The other tricky bit, I think, is that a lot of people are getting older and less adept at anything. So
Yeah,
so, yeah.
and I think less motivated. Like people are, I know a lot of people are just like fed up with technology. It's like, well, it works good enough. I'm not gonna invest my life in making it better. Like this old laptop, like, nah, it works good enough. Yeah.
So to kind of roll this around to the decision or to the discussion of what we should be, the MLP should be doing going forward with routers and providing routers, and where I had suggested we should consider, I wasn't advocating that, but I just thought we should consider, do we just go the Leverett route and no longer provide routers to customers? And it seems like you're saying that's not a good route, because then if somebody does have a problem, they don't know just where the problem is. If they do call in, the tech support's not going to be able to help, most likely not going to be able to help them, because there's very little problem in our network, and even to the drop line. I mean, it doesn't, we're not having many ONTs replaced here. We're not having drop lines and jumpers to ONTs replaced. The signal's getting through to the ONT, and the problem is the router, or the signal to the router, the signal out from the router. And so if we are no longer supporting routers, it's just going to be, well, you're on your own. Now, I will say the other side of that is in Leverett, there's at least one electrician, maybe a couple of electricians, that instead of rolling a truck from Shell for some problem that's, might be the router, might be, your computer, there are local people that will go out and work on house wiring, I assume routers.
Our own Jim Hemingway is one
Yes,
of
I
them,
was gonna
in my
say.
understanding.
Yeah,
He's one of those
I'm thinking
people.
of people that have this more as an official business than just our
Yeah.
laudable volunteer here.
Yeah, they used to be $75 an hour. They're probably higher than that now, but it's, yeah, so let's figure they're 85 an hour or something of that order. So it's still not trivial to, and I think Shell dispatches them.
Yeah.
So is that how that works in Lebanon?
I believe so, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and Collins Electric is actually one of Shell's providers now.
Yeah, I think I didn't know that. And it's what's Grace Electric in Leverett is the local fellow right there.
Yeah.
And down
I think
Leverett.
Grace is the one that goes out for things that are not stuff on the road or stuff to the drops or whatever.
Drops, yeah.
How about the suggest, looking at the survey? Oh, and I wonder whether that woman, it's probably not worthwhile looking to see whether that customer had filled in the survey. But in any case, the survey. Oh, my wife is home. I'll get out of this. Yeah. The survey said that people didn't want to generally pay more for a router, fuller service router thing, but I think we should offer, as has been proposed occasionally, the enhanced service, or whatever that would be called. Hi, sweetie. Helen Ann was on jury duty today, so, but I can't say anything else probably. Yeah, so I would say if we could get Shell to propose what that would cost to have a fully supported, a U6 or Wi-Fi 6 and supervised, and have it it has to be more than the $2.50 a month, because there should also be it should also cover the cost of replacing it if it breaks after 7 years, or whatever the average life is expected to be. So that has to be factored in. Shell only has to take the risk on. Shell won't want to take the risk on it. We should work out a figure. If we were going to offer that, we would work out a figure that we would be taking the chance on, not quite being perfect on how much it costs. And there has to figure in the $100 to install it, probably, as well. Once again, spread over. But that would be an enhanced service that we could offer to those who wanted to pay extra for an enhanced service, right? Let people choose.
Yeah, I think it is important to give choice on this instead of just, raising, the cost of everyone and extra service. I think one thing we really need to do is explain to people what they're getting with it. Like we say manage router, and we know from the technical standpoint, but from the customer's standpoint, let them know exactly what it is. Of like, you can call up and find out your password or change it, right? Like that's kind of the end user experience. Or another thing that I was thinking of in relation to like the TikTok being sued, and this new awareness about kids and their digital health, is that the parental controls of only allowing windows of time of connectivity, I think is going to be a big draw. And yes, our routers can currently do it, but I think only about 10% of the people know how to do that, right? And saying, well, if you want an experience where you can call up Shelled and say, please, for my kid's iPhone that you can see connected there, just make it available these hours to these hours. I think there could be some value in that people would be really interested in.
And then the
Yes.
parent could tell the kids, we don't have any control over this. That's what the phone company's doing that. Sorry.
It's Kelly's fault. It's Shelled. Yeah, Jim.
Gail, but I thought a central problem was that if we were to purchase and distribute these routers from Calix, that we had to buy into the whole service scene, so to speak, and you couldn't do what I'm doing right now, which is sort of managing my router on my own without any need for any report and any service support from them. And is it possible to for us to install the routers without this $2.50 a month?
I installed mine. I mean, you've got to
Well,
have
sure, yeah, I mean, some can do it, most probably cannot. So, I mean, but I thought
mine's supervised.
Yeah, the routers cannot run without the service charge. They can't run. So in that respect, you like you can't just say, oh, I'm going to use this router, but in a non-managed way. Nope. If that router is live and active, you're going to be paying the fee for it. But what we could do though is give alternate routers, right? Everybody in town is getting a free router upgrade. You can get the Calix U6, which is managed and comes with all these benefits,
Right.
or you can just get a new free, stronger router.
Oh, okay, that's what I didn't understand. Okay.
I'm puzzled because Jim, Graham, and I, and Craig have the Calix U6. Are we paying? I mean, we're not paying anything more in our fee. Is the town paying Shell?
No, they're just as a courtesy. They're letting us run it through its paces as a test. So
Okay, so
it's $6 a month that they're eating the cost of.
So that's
they're generous.
The test. Okay, so they're just testing
Yeah,
those, but in fact, they are being run as managed routers.
yes, they
Mm.
can't, in my understanding, they can't run without that management software.
And that's why when they were distributed, the Graham, I think you were passing them out at town meeting, and at this point I've lost track of how many years ago it was. Mine has my name on the box.
Okay.
You know, you had one with my name on it, one with Jim's name, one with Craig's name, because
I think that
Yeah,
had to be, well, that had to be because it had to be pre-provisioned to
Yeah.
match your ONT
yeah.
specifically. Yeah. Yeah, you know, I wonder. Well, I'll ask. I feel like I've asked this question before about, can these run in a non-managed way for the people who don't want to pay for it? Like, is it a good, like, just standard rounder? But I'm almost certain that the answer was
They will say no. They
yeah,
you know,
yeah,
you
okay.
don't get the software. The software is
Yeah.
needed to
Yeah,
run.
yeah. Okay.
So that means that to go this route, this is a big step, big decision and a big step. We can't ease into this. We can't go halfway. Because part of my thought is, well, gee, all the electronic waste that's out there. And frankly, I still have the Linksys router that was working perfectly well, but I swapped off to the other one because, well, we had it. Why not try it out? And so, yeah, some of those Linksys routers are dying and they need to be replaced, but I suspect plenty of them are working fine. And so I hate to say, well, we're going to throw away 700 routers when there's probably most of them, there's no problem. They're working fine. So that was just, an additional thought I have on this.
I think my guess is that that should this replacement occur, that our subscriber would keep the old router. Unless we ask Shell to take it away, wouldn't you say? Wouldn't you think?
Yeah, that Shell is not going to want to take garbage.
Yeah, routers.
Yeah, but it would be on the homeowner to dispose of it, and yep, it would create a lot of waste.
Mhm.
Because
Electronics does fail. Capacitors get old and
Yeah, and Steve, and we could slow roll this and say from today forward, every router that fails gets replaced by U6. But then the homeowner's like, you replaced my router, now I'm paying $2.50 more per. I don't want this.
Yeah.
Yeah, that or we could just be like, well, we wait for them to fail, and then as they fail, the customer gets a choice, manage, run, and manage. I think if we did that, a lot of routers would start having accidents. Right? They hear that a router fails and their neighbor got a better router that does better Wi-Fi calling, and
some people go that route.
Yeah.
But the person that's contacted you about things not working, they're not gonna be doing that because they don't, I mean, there's a mix of people that are really up on services and people that they just want to be able to get their email and watch their YouTube, and so
yeah,
there might be a few people who do that, Gal, but keep in mind that if you hit it with a hammer, then you're going to wait at least 12 hours until so
It's
so
true.
you got to do it at a time you don't
Yeah, you have to
care.
be very, very calculating about the
You know,
murder of your router.
It used to be one of the tricks at UMass, that if something wasn't working, then someone would eventually turn up. But if it was broken, then and so some people did do that, but I don't think that many did that. So
Yeah, and also I just like it would take another 5 to 10 years to wait for everything to fail. And I think for cost effectiveness and like It's also kind of a bad service experience of like the router is going to start degrading, it's going to start behaving funny, and then eventually the person calls and then they have to have an appointment for someone to come and install instead of something more proactive. Yeah, I think we are in a position of like, if we're going to do this, we have to do it in this kind of wholesale way of just everybody getting it.
And yeah, the research does seem to indicate that older routers and older electronics in general, but you notice it with routers because they're performing for you, that that they do that they don't work as well, you know, and it's because it's because electronics is, everything is so fine that just, you know, a little bit of degradation of the of the chemistry of the whole thing, you know, a few molecules have drifted out of you know, contamination, humidity, whatever. It actually does. The other interesting thing in digging deeper on router research is that, you know, you're often told a power cycle if there's something not working. What that does is it clears registers that have, you know, it's like your cache memory is limited in a router, and there's actually when you reboot, when you repower it, it clears at least some of that, and for heavy users. There are pretty good quality routers that now say you should power cycle it once a month if you've got a household with it's just something to do as part of your routine. So you know, the cache memories aren't big enough, I guess.
So Graham, just to understand what you're saying a router is not necessarily like, say, an old incandescent light bulb where it either works or poof, it's out.
Correct. It is not.
A router, it doesn't go 100% fine and then it's just not working, but it starts to gradually fail in a way that you maybe wouldn't notice.
Yes, and it's because there's a lot of chemistry and a lot of things that are really close together, and every time there's a lightning flash nearby, you get little holes poked in, you know, things that don't make it fail necessarily, though can. But it's just damage over time, a little bit like our brains, you know, as we get older. You know, some of us, not you guys.
Oh no, definitely.
So you know, there's wear and tear, and it's you could, if you had an electron microscope, you would be able to see it, and a sophisticated sort of thing. But it is basically you know, slow deterioration, and it's not catastrophic usually until it is catastrophic. So.
Yeah, I got one other question that is a tangent to this, but you know, the Venn diagram, there'd be a little overlap here. We're putting aside this currently 45,000 a year. We started at 38,000 a year into the stabilization fund that was designed to replace all the electronics in the range of 7 years. And we definitely were considering that that would a good chunk of that would go towards replacing the electronics in the hut. Then we met with people from Shell and HG&E at the hut.
Yeah.
Again, I've lost track of what was this, a year ago, a couple of years ago, and to discuss this issue with them, just, you know, what needs to be replaced, and it comes out, well, a lot of the stuff in the hut doesn't need to be replaced at any point because it's passive. There's no active electronics in there, and those passive.
Well, there is an active electronics, but it's very, very rugged, and they don't change it out very often. The E7s, Calyx.
Oh, I know that there was some, but instead of looking, what we initially did was look at the entire cost of outfitting and configuring the hut, all the equipment that went in there, and it costs so much, and so we're going to need to replace all of that in 7 years. Found no, a lot of that does not need to be replaced. There are certain components that do, but some of them were like the power supplies and the batteries, which they were replacing already and needed to be done regularly. So it got down, those E7 units, those were going to need to be replaced at some point, but it was a fairly small percentage of the total amount of the expense of the hut. And we were going to ask Shell HGE for an estimate on that, and we didn't get it right away, and I brought this up again, and I can't remember. Did we ever get a figure from them on that?
Yeah. So the only thing that they said is going to basically need replacement is the what are they called? The very expensive cards.
Yeah,
And the abbreviation for them, I want to
The
call
splitters?
it E7.
no,
The
No, the E7 cards, and they're like 5,000 a piece or something. But
Is that the cards that are driving the lasers?
Yeah.
Sending signal out? I can imagine they're
Yeah,
working
there are
hard.
two of them, there are two of them in each E7.
yeah, there's
E7s,
four
yes,
cards.
that's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
And that those are the things that would need to be replaced as they fail. And we've had one failure so far for one of them.
But that was
But-
the
That was due
initial
to
fail,
a Crocker's
wasn't it?
key being dropped.
caused by, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
And-
was the leftover bolts.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's right.
The missing bolts, and actually that was my first contact with Sheld, because remember
Yeah.
they did mutual aid, and they're
Yeah.
and you know
They
we were
had
we were
the spare
and-
They had
card.
they had a spare.
they had a
Yeah.
spare, and they drove it up, and they're like, don't worry about it.
Yeah.
So anyway,
So-
besides those, there's really nothing that they said that needed to be replaced. It's not like these things wear out at any rate. So much of our hut is passive, right?
So what I'm thinking is, where we had thought, there's hundreds of thousands of dollars of gear in there that's going to need to be replaced in 5 years. No,
Nope.
we might have 20,000, and we've got over 200,000 in our stabilization account. I've forgotten with the last figure that went in there, but it's in the ballpark of that. So, and we're continuing to put 45,000 a year into it. We stepped that up a couple years ago when we lowered our rates, and we're concerned about lowering the rates. And I said, okay, let's step up what we're putting into stabilization. That way we're cushioning any, future issue here. So it seems like the biggest issue we're looking at for replacement are the routers and the ONTs. It's the customer.
The ONTs won't need replacing because they're made as rugged as they are 99.999 that they're telecom grade equipment.
So you wouldn't see any reason to do a periodic?
No.
Just those are just as needed.
Yeah,
Which-
they're as rugged as the other end. Those two things are
couple of
made
years.
to
Okay.
be telecom standard.
Although they do require power.
Yeah.
Because that's what those battery
Those
backups that are failing are for.
Yeah,
Was there
we
an
have
issue of maybe we'd want to replace the ONTs at some point to get ones that had higher capacity?
Well, if you wanted to go to 10 gig, then you need a different ONT, and you need a different service because the outputs on the E7s are 1 gig. So.
Yeah, so
and you can get them. You can definitely get them, but it'd be a fancy. That would be definitely the business quality. Just to point out that the first step you do is you do a second 1 gig probably, because you probably don't want to pay for the price of a 10 gig service or a 4 gig service, whatever the next step is. You would just say, can you give me I'm not sure whether 2 fibers come in on the average drop, but it's as cheap as getting another drop. There are 2 fiber drops if you want. So.
Okay, well, so I'm just thinking about the finances of this.
Yep. So currently, we've been looking into this. We have 254,000 right now in our depreciation fund, our stabilization. That includes the 45,000 that was just put in for this year.
Although this calendar year, but it was actually last fiscal year. It was I
Yeah.
think April or thereabouts. And there's 45,000 in the current fiscal year budget.
No, that was put in August.
You sure about that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Gail moved it almost immediately because we're getting really good high interest rates on our stabilization fund. So she moved it in like August 1st. So including fiscal year 25 stabilization contribution, that's where that 253 number comes from.
Okay.
So the math right now is $146 or so per router times 770 households, times about $250 per installation. That's the 90 hours technician plus van, plus like maybe $50 in miscellaneous hardware. So all in is $208,836. So that's the cost of the routers themselves plus the $250 per install. So if we wanted to do this tomorrow, technically we could afford it. Of just everybody gets a new router, whether or not they want to get a managed router or a regular router.
But
So anyway, just
what-
something to think of. These numbers are all on that the router
Yeah.
spreadsheet information, or the document that I sent around. So feel free to take a look at that and look at the actual numbers.
But a regular router, a non-managed router would mean a different piece of hardware. Is that
Yeah.
so? We'd have to find a different piece of hardware.
A different router, you're saying?
Yeah.
That hardware. Yeah.
Right. So it's $146 per router plus the $250 install fee.
But 146 is for the the K.
I see what you're saying. Yes.
Yeah.
The 146 is the U6. I bet that cost has gone up a little bit. I think the last time I asked, it was 6 months ago, so it's probably even gone up a little bit since then. But yes, you are right. If we wanted to if people got the choice to get not that, yes, we would have to choose a different router to offer to people.
Which is probably not going to cost more.
Not to try to strike a warning note on this, but you realize if Trump gets elected, his 100% tariff will hit these routers the cost of these routers pretty hard, I'm afraid. I wonder, I mean, that's we have no control over that, of course, but that is a possibility should that calamity actually take place.
Because they'd be coming from foreign countries.
Yep.
We
China
know
specifically, these all Catholic stuff comes from, I think, Taiwan or China or both. I'm not sure, but I know that they come from one of those two places.
I think the router, I was
mhm.
just looking at it to try and find the model name that would say U6, which I couldn't find. And I think I did see Taiwan on it.
Yeah, I think Taiwan maybe, yeah. But yeah. Does Taiwan count as China to Trump?
Yes, for
Close
Trump
enough.
it does. Yeah, close enough. Yeah.
Well, listen,
Okay.
Well, throw something else into the mix here.
yeah, let's yay, we get to worry about something else.
Yeah.
We could have a lot to worry about.
So
router.
Gail, what you're saying is that it would cost us $208,836 to replace everybody's router, either a managed or an unmanaged router. But it would also, for those who choose managed, it would also cost them an additional $250 a month.
If they chose that, yeah.
If
We could make it their choice.
Okay, all right.
If they chose that. I think that we could we could find a decent router for about $150 that was non-managed.
Yeah,
I'm actually not so worried about that, of like, yeah, we can find that.
We
A
might,
And I
Wi-Fi,
think that could be Wi-Fi 6 as well. Yeah,
a Wi-Fi
pretty
6
close.
router.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it
I
seems,
assume we'd probably have to source that ourselves. I doubt that Sheld is interested in buying those, but I don't know. Maybe.
If they did it, then we'd have to pay them for the service for sure.
Mhm.
Sorry, I had a
I think
thought.
they have a markup in their contract. I'm not sure on materials.
Do you know if
Yeah.
Sheld, from a billing standpoint, is okay with billing some customers $250 for the management, not others?
yes,
Okay.
they're fine with it. That was one of the questions we asked last year.
Ah, good, okay. I was gonna ask
Yeah,
that too.
yeah,
No harder than making a different bill for a telephone, including in your, or two telephones. So it's not,
Yeah.
it's easy bookkeeping for them. So.
yeah.
I mean, it seems like we're not at all ready to dive into something at this point.
No,
I'm-
this is gonna be a process. I just want to make sure that pretty much every meeting we're just talking about it a little bit.
And we've got a big thing coming up. It will be the new ISP contract. Maybe
mhm.
we should see how that plays out.
Yeah,
Hold on, I think this is FedEx here.
there goes Steve.
I liked your term, Gail, digital health for children.
I didn't coin that. It's something that people have been talking about a bit in digital equity.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Now I dropped my glasses somewhere.
All right.
I think we could also figure that replacement of all the routers could be phased over, a year or even 2 years.
Yeah. It's going to take a long
It's a
time.
lot of
I mean,
work.
you
It's a lot
do
of
the
work.
math. Like one dedicated technician could maybe do 4 a day, but that might be a stretch. And then just how many days does it take to do 770? And it's going to be a process.
Yeah. I was saying, Steve, it gets phased to do something as big as that, because Shell doesn't have a technician sitting around who just has that little to do on the average day.
Shell probably won't provide us with what an ideal unmanaged router might be for us to choose. That would be something that we'd have to figure out ourselves.
No, I mean, they already are. Our EA 7300s, the Linksys, they started having trouble getting supplies for that because they stopped making them, and so now they're using the EA 7500s.
500s, yeah, which is virtually identical, except it's a little bit better performer.
Yeah, and
but what I meant was when it comes time to do the big managed versus unmanaged offer, that we would probably have a completely different Wi-Fi 6 router in mind as the unmanaged choice, correct? And if so, would Shell be involved in helping us select that particular item, or
yeah, I'm sure that they would advise on that. When we asked them this question, like, I don't know, 4 or 5 months ago, when were having trouble finding the 7300s. I talked with them and they said, you know, just stay in the class, you know, it's not going to look different to the customers. If your neighbor has something, they're basically the same thing, only a little bit better. And so for now, that's what they recommended. They would like to see everybody doing managed routers. It makes their service and management of all of our customers way easier on them.
Mhm.
So, yeah, you know, they're very transparent about that. That's what they supply to all of their customers, and they would like that for us too.
Mhm.
But I think if we ask them, they would help us find something. But as we discovered, you know, there's so many options out there. And what we'd probably just go with one of the major manufacturers and, you know, just choose a decent router. They're,
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
there's a bunch of good ones. Yeah.
yeah,
Mhm.
And we're not talking about doing this right away. So of course, technology changes and, you know, maybe we'll see what's available at the time we actually want to make a change.
yeah.
Yeah, prices will slowly go up and performance will go up very, very significantly. So yeah, it's good. It's a good deal.
All right. Anything else for tonight?
Just to say you know, as alluded to before, that the TikTok and Facebook is being sued by state's attorney general because they have been exploiting children and whistleblowers. And these companies have understood that they're damaging children, and of course they make so much money out of it all that they can't hold themselves back. But as we consider anything with MBI, you know, and digital improvement to our town, we should have it in the back of our heads, and also we should figure that that the laws are going to change. They already have changed in some states that children can't have iPhones in school, for instance. They go in lock bags and stuff like that. But there's going to be just for us to know that there's going to be laws and stuff that'll protect children that at the moment some Gen Z kids are you know, totally we've done a horrible experiment on them, you know, or we've fed them to the you know, to whatever. So
I would suspect this is something that Shell is keeping on top of because as an ISP, they need to be aware of the, I would expect that, I would hope they're on top of it.
they'd be aware of the problem, but there's nothing they can do except offer services like you know, we can shut down, you know, the porn sites, and we can put blocks on things. So for individual services, if you ask for it, so they'll only do that on managed routers. They can't do it, and they won't do it on you know, unmanaged. So we can manage it ourselves if we're sophisticated. So
Yeah.
it's really only when they change the laws that it helps, because a little bit like when I was a kid and you know, my parents didn't want to buy a TV, and I just went off and watched TV at other people's houses, and eventually they figured if they were going to see their son that they were going to have to get a TV. Really hard to tell your kid that they can't have a smartphone if or if half the other kids have smartphones. So it really has to change at a legislative level for the states and maybe the federal government eventually. That's all I got on that.
All right.
All right. Well, good. It's well, happy fall, everyone. It's our meeting is ending and it's now dark.
Yeah.
Here we are again.
And let's see, next meeting date as I get my analog calendar.
As you get your good old calendar out, Steve.
Yeah.
It is the 20th of November.
Okay.
Oh, Years ticking by. Did
Yeah.
anyone see the aurora during last week? Fantastic.
No.
Was there,
Fantastic.
could you see it here?
Yes, yeah. There were a whole bunch of people down at the lake.
Hmm.
We could see it at our house, and then we scooted down to the lake. I can't remember what day of the week, last week.
Oh, I'm so sorry to miss it. There's a comet.
Yes,
gonna
there
be-
is.
and I'm gonna try to. It's not dark enough yet, but I'm gonna try to catch that. Sometime over the next hour. Look for Venus. It's to the
Yes.
upper right of wherever Venus is.
Hmm.
A little
Yes.
cloudy here. You
Yeah.
might be luckier than me.
Yeah,
When
it's the
you-
Atlas. The Atlas something comet.
Yeah, we went up to the town common last night hoping to see it, and we probably were too late anyway, but the moon was up and bright and didn't realize there's a spotlight on the church. And then
Yes.
Oh
two big
no!
lights- two big lights on the post office. So the town common that seemed like a great place to view the sky was not.
No.
Because where we got so many trees around us that we don't see the horizon anywhere. We missed the aurora. I went dashing when I heard about it. I went out and looked and didn't see anything. That well, maybe it's because we can't see the north very well. But then I thought, oh, it happened like an hour ago. It's already gone. So
you can always point your iPhone, your smartphone at the sky and take a picture, because the smartphones are more sensitive to the frequencies of the color, and it's worth something to see. Oh, it was glowing, even though I couldn't see it with my eyeballs. Oh,
that's kind of shocking, but
yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So, all right. Well, happy astronomying, and hopefully we can see the comet.
Motion to adjourn. Motion to
I will see it
adjourn.
on the web.
Motion to adjourn.
Yes, so moved. Second.
Did my audio improve at all? Did it change? Or
It did.
It was the room you were in, I think, Graham. When you came into this room, I think the other room was too live for some
Yeah, it's
reason.
like too echoey or something.
Okay, right. And just out of interest, do you get more feedback if you talk now? If talk now and see if you get feedback on my microphone, on my speaker being louder.
No, it seems the same.
Does okay. That's good to know.
Fine.
Okay, I was muting myself more just in case that was an issue. But okay, that's good. Okay, lovely. See you next month if I don't see you all before.
All right. Take care. Bye.
Bye-bye.